And if you like the video or any other content on the channel, feel free to subscribe. This video will be going over, in my opinion, one of the best Custodes Shield Host lists available to us right now. There are 2 units of 3 Venatari, which could be changed for 2 units of 2 bikes or another unit of Custodian Guard and some chaff. The Venatari version will be the more potent version though. I want some good jet bikes just as much as all of us. This will be a bit quicker format than the last few list videos. I quickly go over the stratagems for reference, then focus on the highlights of each unit, some tips, general game plans for the Shield Host Detachment list. On to the list itself. It is a Shield Host Detachment list, 2,000 points. I've named this one the Touch of Death just because any of these units, if they hit you, you're pretty much dead. Warlord is the Shield Captain in a Allarus Terminator armor with the Panoptus Specs enhancement and a Castellan axe. Our characters, we have a Bladechampion with the Auric Mantle and then another Bladechampion with no enhancement. Our battle line, we have 4 Custodian Guard, 3 with Spears, 1 of the Vexilla and the Misericordia in the shield. For our other data sheets, we have 5 Allarus Terminators with 5 Castellan axes, 2 units of 5 Wardens with 5 Spears and a Vexilla, 2 units of 3 Venatari, both of them have 3 of the Venatari Lances, 2 units of 4 Witchseekers, and then finally for our allied units, we have Kyria Draxus and the Callidus Assassin. Now we'll just quickly go over the Adeptus Custodes Army Rule and the Shield Host Detachment Rule. So Martial Kata. Each time a unit from your army with this ability is selected to fight, select one of the Kata stances. Until that unit has finished making its attacks, the selected stance is active for it and it gains the relevant ability. Dakatari stance, melee weapons equipped by models in that unit have the Sustain Hits 1 ability. Rendak stance, the Lethal Hits ability. A great army rule to boost our melee damage potential. If we'll be wounding on a 3 or less, we want to pick Sustain Hits 1. If it's 5 or 6s, we want to pick Lethal Hits. And then for the Shield Host Detachment Rule, we have Martial Mastery. At the start of the battle round, you can select one of the bullet points below. If you do so, until the start of the next battle round, that bullet point effects apply. The first one is each Adeptus Custodes model with the Martial Kata ability. Melee weapons equipped by models gain the critical hits on 5's ability, or you can pick equipped melee weapons have +1 AP. Next, we'll go through the enhancements and the stratagems quickly. For the enhancements in the list, we have Auric Mantle on the Bladechampion, and that just gives him 2 extra wounds. Then we have Panoptus Specs on our Allarus Terminator Captain, giving his unit Ignore Cover on ranged weapons. Now we'll quickly go over the stratagems. We have Arcane Genetic Alchemy for any phase, 4 Feel No Pain. Archaeotech Munitions, and that will give you either lethal hits or sustained hits with our ranged weapons. Then we have Avenge the Fallen. In the fight phase, add 1 to the attack characteristics of the unit if it is below half strength. Then we have Avenge the Fallen. In the fight phase, if you're below starting strength, add 1 to the attack characteristics. If you're below half strength, add 2. Then we have Multi-Potentiality, and that is just a fallback shoot and charge. Then Unwavering Sentinels, and this is just a -1 to the hit roll if we control the objective. And then finally we have Vigilance Eternal, and this is just a sticky objectives, but we can only use it on battle line, and the Custodian Guard are our only battle line. Let's go through the units in the list now. We'll start with our Warlord, the Shield Captain in Allarus with his 5 Allarus Terminators. This is our Warlord unit and the most dangerous unit we have in the list. Melee combat and possibly even shooting. The Allarus Shield Captain with the Panoptus Specs enhancement gives the entire unit Ignore Cover. That will be 12 axe shots at Strength 4, AP 1, Damage 2, and then 6d6 plus blast ballistic grenade launcher shots at Strength 4, AP 1, Damage 1. With all ignoring cover, this unit will be very deadly shooting into light infantry or horde units. The Allarus Custodian Slayer of Tyrants ability gives the unit reroll the wound roll against character, monster, or vehicle units. With the option of +1 to AP to the axis with Martial Mastery, I feel this gives us a unit to deal with Catan and other damage modifying abilities. Instead of the Guardian Spears going down to damage 1, these axes only go down to damage 2. They are AP 1, but like I said, the Martial Mastery extra AP does help that some. This unit will go into Deep Strike to rapid ingress on an important target. Golden Light gives us a once per game go back into reserves. Great for dealing with a threat on one side of the board, only to reappear on the other side of the board next turn. Archaeotech munitions can be used to get sustained 1 into hordes or lethal hits with the ranged attacks. Multi-potentiality for fallback and charge is fantastic for this unit. Finally, we have Arcane Genetic Alchemy, will be a great way to mitigate large amounts of wounds, and with the Shield Captain we are able to use these for 0 CP or at least reduce them by 1. Then we have the Blade Champion with the Auric Mantles with the 5 Wardens. This will be our prime objective holder, taking the brunt of the enemy aggression. Auric Mantle will give the Blade Champion a bit more survivability. The Custodian Wardens -1 to the wound roll if the attack is higher than the Warden's toughness, and once per game 4-up Feel No Pain makes this a great unit for holding objectives. The Blade Champion gives the unit some extra hitting power, reroll charge rolls, and a once per game advance in charge gives a large threat range the enemy has to respect, especially in Shield Host where the Martial Mastery, the Wardens can do serious damage to any unit. The Blade Champion brings the ability to do mortal wounds with the Invictus weapon profile, 5 attacks, hitting on 2s, strength 6, AP 3 with damage 3 with devastating wounds. The critical hits on 5s with sustained 1s, the Blade Champion can spike and do some terrifying damage. Then we have a Blade Champion without any enhancements with another 5 Wardens. The same talking points apply to this unit as well, except no extra 2 wounds on the Blade Champion from Auric Mantle. And this will be a side objective holder, at least until we can get Draxus and our Custodian Guard over to sticky the objective with Vigilance Eternal, freeing that unit up. Both of these units will benefit from most of these following stratagems. Arcane Genetic Alchemy, we have the once per game 4-up Feel No Pain, but I'd much rather save that for a strong shooting or melee phase. Spending the 1 CP to protect ourselves from mortal wounds seems like a fair trade. Then we have Multi-Potentiality. Almost every one of our units love fallback and charge. These 2 Blade Champion Warden units are no different, allowing us to fall back and charge for fights first. On Wavering Sentinels, these units will be spending a lot of the game standing on objectives, -1 to hit for the fight phase, and if we use the 4-up Feel No Pain, this will be a tough unit to crack. Even more so if the attack is high strength, activating the Warden's -1 to the wound roll. Finally, we have Avenge the Fallen. This can be used as a last-ditch effort to kill a unit, but other than that, very situational. Extra attacks always is nice on the Blade Champion though. Now we have our 2 units of 3 Venatari. These can rapid ingress for 0 CP multiple times per phase with the swooping dive ability. All 3 have Venatari lances for maximum damage with 15 attacks, hitting on 2s, strength 7, AP 2 and damage 2, either sustained 1 or lethal hits with critical hits on 5s or the extra AP 1. Also has fallback and charge built into the datasheet. Great unit for secondary actions like behind enemy lines, recover assets, or sabotage. Also great for hunting down lone enemy infantry units, holding objectives, or doing secondary actions with their movement of 10 inches. Arcane Genetic Alchemy will be the only truly useful stratagem for this unit to protect against mortal wounds. All the other stratagems are better used elsewhere. Next is our 2 units of Witchseekers. If there will be a lot of pressure on our home objective throughout the game, we may want to leave Kyria Draxus and leave her unit to defend the home objective, leaving both of these units to scout forward 6 inches and grab some early objectives and secondaries. If there's not a lot of threat to our home objective, we can leave one of these 2 Witchseeker units to defend the home objective or stick it with a Custodian Guard unit, leaving both of these Witchseeker units free for secondary scoring. Next we have the Callidus Assassin. This is our best unit for scoring secondary points. Pariah Nexus has a lot of the complete at the end of the opponent's next turn to complete. A lone-op model with the ability to redeploy every battle round is very helpful for this list. We can also use her to negate enemy stratagems or drain CP by dropping her within 12 inches of a target, causing all stratagems used within 12 inches of the Callidus Assassin to cost an extra CP. Can be very powerful when the enemy has 1 CP. We do have to be very careful when placing her on the board though. She can be a very important unit to our secondary scoring. We do not want to get her killed early on in the game. And next we have Draxus with the Custodian Guard. And this is one of my favorite units for the Custodes for any of my competitive lists. I do have a large write-up here. I'm just going to toss them up here, so I'm not going to go through everything. But just in case you're wondering why I like it so much, you can pause this video and take a look at these. I think there's 3 different slides here. If you are interested in why she is so good, look through these slides and you'll just see how well she does for our army. On to my final thoughts. This is my favorite Shield Host list. This list is very potent in melee with lots of speed and secondary scoring options, lots of tough yet very hard hitting units. I wanted to make this a quicker video since it is a very competitive list instead of going over every single thing in the list. I played a list similar to this one on the channel and it did very well. I've tested a few more times since then as well. If you have any questions on the list or anything I may have missed, let me know in the comments. Like I always say, thanks for watching, thanks for stopping by.